Okay guys, today I'm making classic Italian biscotti. Proper crunchy, twice baked, and they're meant for dunking. No soft centres or cakey texture with these ones. Nice and simple with very few ingredients. Plain flour, baking powder, caster sugar and a cup of eggs, and I'm making hazelnut and orange flavoured ones, so we need some chopped hazelnuts and the zest of half an orange. The quantities I show on the way through are enough to make 24 biscotti. I'm making less than that, so ignore my scales, etc. But the ingredients and method for 24 biscotti will be at the end. So we need 250 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and 250 grams of caster sugar. Mix all these together. You could sift them, but there's no real point. They're all going to get mixed up in a minute anyway. In with 3 medium eggs, and as usual I like to crack mine into a bowl individually, one at a time, just in case there's a bad one. And retrieve any pieces of shell that have fallen in. I'm using a bigger piece of shell. This nearly always works for me, but sometimes doesn't. So what I do then is wet my finger and thumb and just grip the piece of shell, and that always works. Mix it all together to form a dough. I'm using my Danish dough whisk for this. Useful bit of kit, really is. I should have mentioned this before. Get the oven preheating at 170 Celsius. Finally, grate the zest of an orange. Be careful with your fingers with one of these microplanes, they are razor sharp. And in with 100 grams of chopped hazelnuts. Get it all mixed together. And tip it out onto your work surface. Bring the dough together and roll it into, it will be 2 logs for the quantities I've quoted. And then onto a piece of baking parchment on a baking tray. Pop the tray into the oven at 170 Celsius for 25 minutes. Now, you'll see I had a bit of a problem. As I mentioned, I made a smaller quantity than I've quoted for you, and I got my quantities wrong. I should have used something like 1 or 1.5 eggs. I used 2, and the dough was too runny and it spread all over the baking parchment. So what I did was I quickly pulled the parchment together and stapled the top, and this worked perfectly, so I was quite impressed. So here I am after 25 minutes, removing the baking parchment and making sure the staples don't go into the dough. So you'll totally ignore this bit. I just wanted to show you things don't always go well in the Digwell household. And here we are at the point where you should be. What we're going to do now then is cut the log into 1.5 to 2 centimetre slices. And put the slices back on the tray to go back in the oven. And this is where the word biscotti comes from, twice baked. Back in the oven for 5 to 7 minutes until they go golden on top. Turn the slices over and back in the oven again for another 5 to 7 minutes until they're golden and crispy. And here they are. Onto a wire rack with them and allow them to cool down completely. Okay then, after my impending doom, they turned out okay. Good recovery, Steve. They taste lovely. Oh, I'm not doing it justice by not dunking it into a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, but they will do for me. Hope you give this one a go, guys. It's really nice. Mmm. Mmm. Mmm.